Where are your values? Where are your priorities? What are your choices? Democrats in Congress are also working to end the pandemic of homelessness. I joined with Senator Obama to support a bill called Homes for Heroes. The bill would establish permanent housing and services for low-income veterans and their families. It would make more rental assistance available, assist providers of veterans' housing and services, and focus more attention on vets who are homeless. Of course, the more soldiers who go off to war, the more necessary this bill becomes. The portion of the bill that helps community and nonprofit organizations offer housing to low-income veterans, it would require about $225 million to fund. We grind up enough money to house thousands of veterans in 16 hours in Iraq. Not even a day. The costs of the combat compared to the opportunity to providing a year of expanded housing for homeless veterans would cost the same as 16 hours of the amount we spend in Iraq. Some say too much. Where are your values? What are your priorities? How is it that you choose? Of course, the price we pay in dollars can never compare to the price our wounded warriors and their families pay in lost limbs, in haunted dreams, in lives changed forever. That's a price that not one more soldier should be asked to pay for a pointless war. In the meantime, we need to act fast to get returning vets the help they need. Veterans got their wounds following their government's orders. Those wounds can only heal if the government reorders its priorities. Democrats wanted to send the bill increasing veterans funding to the President before Veterans Day. But President Bush is trying to use veterans funding as an excuse to veto other programs America depends on. The President has also said that funding a new GI Bill for veterans education is too expensive. Too expensive. Never have calls for fiscal responsibility under this guise been so morally reprehensible and irresponsible. First and foremost, we can never forget the price tag our veterans have ultimately provided by their service. And the price tag for veteran services wouldn't be so high if this administration didn't recklessly send them into harm's way to begin with. The President seems to think we can't afford to spend on both veterans' health and children's health. He seems to think we can't afford to treat the wounds our soldiers suffer and fund cancer research to save civilians from that brutal killer. He seems to think we can't afford to ensure the safety of our returning soldiers and make sure all Americans find safety in the workplace. But he did seem to think we could afford to chase Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan, as we should have, but then invade Iraq, even though both situations today are major, major challenges. He didn't seem to think we could fight He did seem to think we could fight a $2 trillion war in Iraq and give a massive tax cut to millionaires and billionaires, even though the economy hovers near recession and most American families are no better off than the beginning of this administration. He did seem to think he could sign every bill the Republican-controlled Congress sent him, running up the debt to the tune of $3 trillion, borrowing money from foreign countries to pay for a war that makes no sense, ignoring pressing national priorities, underfunding care for veterans, leaving our ports vulnerable, leaving our educational systems underfunded, leaving the massive crisis of global climate change completely ignored, leaving children in this country without health care because we've wanted to expand the number of uninsured children who have no health care coverage to those who would have health care coverage under our bill, leaving 47 million Americans with no health insurance whatsoever, and he thought that he could get away with all of it. Well, Mr. President, now is the time for us to stand up and say, you can't have it both ways. When it comes to children's health, when it comes to education and homeland security and veterans' care, we'd better be getting all the support we need. Mr. President, on Sunday, our nation devoted a day to those who devoted themselves to the nation through military service. We took that day to celebrate how lucky we are. How lucky we are. How unbelievably blessed we are as a nation to have such brave men and women rise up again and again to offer their service when they hear the call. But I hope we took that day to offer not just words, but deeds of thanks. A grateful nation not only goes to a Veterans Day observance or marches in a Memorial Day parade, as we should. A grateful nation shows their gratitude by how we treat veterans in the health care that they need, how we treat them in terms of taking care of their disabilities, and how we take care of their survivors, for those who commit the ultimate sacrifice. That is the true measure of a grateful nation. We took that day to remember the duty we have to them because of the devotion they have showed to us. Veterans Day is about a fundamental principle. When soldiers are shipped off to war, if we can look them in the eye and tell them there's a good reason we're waving goodbye, we'd better be able to look them in the eye when they come back and tell them we mean it when we say, welcome home. To the 171,000 troops still in Iraq, I hope America's message on Sunday was, we look forward to the soonest possible year when you will celebrate Veterans Day here with all of us. And we welcome you back and we honor you by how we take care of you in your health care for those who have disabilities, and how we've taken care of the families for those who committed the ultimate sacrifice. That will be the true measure of whether or not we are a grateful nation. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor and observe the absence of a quorum.